get going. Hi, everyone. Welcome. And today we're going to talk about creating communities where people can thrive. I'm here with Mirjam from Ruth and Judith Peters. Hi, both, who are both certified soul-based coaches, but also do so much more than that in the world. And so we're going to talk about what we've all learned about creating communities where people can thrive. We can use Invoke Your Clients Magic, our soul-based coach certification program, as an example. But we'll see where the conversation takes us, because in our pre-chat, there was so many ways that we can go. Hello, my dears. Who wants to kick off? What have you learned about creating communities where people can thrive?
I'm happy to start. I was thinking about this just now when I was walking my dog. And every time I come back to this topic, I realize how much being an Invoke has brought me from a community point of view. First of all, being part of this community, but also really daring to lean in and really feeling like I'm part of a community. And one thing for me was we had a group with only women, our Invoke group at the time. And I never felt overly confident with just women. And being an Invoke actually has really shifted that completely for me. I feel so much more comfortable with women. Actually, I feel very comfortable, and I'm even running my own women's circles now, which is something I would not have done before Invoke. And I think one of the key things is that what I learned in Invoke is that we can actually be in a space where we can just be ourselves, and where we can take the masks off, where there's no judgment, and where everybody just comes completely as they are.
Yeah, and I love hearing that, because I think there's so many women who've had that experience where being with just women doesn't always feel safe. And we can talk a lot about why that is and where that comes from. But I'm much more interested in looking at what we can do about it and how we can change that dynamics. I love that Invoke has given you that very different kind of experience. And I just want to make a little note when you say, where we can be ourselves, when there is no masks, no judgment, there's also very little drama. Because most people
yes.
put these two together, being ourselves, and mean for that to mean that there is a lot of drama and envy and gossiping or pointing fingers or all of that. But there's, as far as I can tell, there's none of that in our community.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting thing to say, right? So how come that is the case? Maybe that is something that we can look at in a moment, because this is by design. There's things that we've put in place that can make this possible. But before we do, Judith, do you want to also share a little bit about what you've learned about creating communities where people can thrive?
So for me, the most impressive thing in the Invoke community was what Mirjam already mentioned, just to show up completely as I am each session that we met. And it is just, maybe this is already bridging to how to design it. The question that we start with what's on top. And so there's no focus on what's on top around your learning journey, or what's on top around your questions in Invoke. But it's when we start together, it's like opening the space for everything that is on top. And this is it sounds so little, but it made a very huge difference for me, because I showed up very exhausted and tired after a long day with working and the kids and all the stuff that is happening in our daily lives. And tuning each week into, okay, what's on top for me? And then there's no judgment. It's just, I don't need to show with an idea how to fix it, or how to be concentrated, or how to be less tired. It's just welcoming everything that is present. And this for me was such a game changer.
Because what
And
happens when you can show up like that, like, and this, you're right, this is one of the very key design decisions when it came to how are we going to run this program. It was that, yes, what's on top, that question, and we usually answer with one word or one sentence depending on how big the group is. It is just that, it is an invitation to check in with, yeah, what is on top for me right now, and to presence that just as it is without making it wrong or making one thing more important than another, right? Sometimes one person comes in and says, what's on top? Well, I'm just so bursting with joy today. And then someone else will go, well, my grandmother just died and I'm noticing the grief. Like, all of it is equally important. It's like there is no preferable way to be as a human being, because being a human being means that we're experiencing all of this, and all of this is part of the in-breath and out-breath of life. And so that invitation is about, yeah, you can just be there with that, and we're not going to fix it, we're not going to change it, we're not going to do anything with it. It's just acknowledging this is me now.
yeah.
And I remember that when I first started doing it, as I said, it was a very conscious design decision. But I immediately realized that it does something else too. And it means that everyone in the group gets to have a little bit of like a user manual for everyone. It's like when I don't know about this, and you do a little, and you feel like a little snappy or a little rough on the edges, I'm going to kind of go, oh, what does that mean? Does that mean something about what we're doing, or about me, or about the person that you're practicing with, or about like the homework, or about the kid? We just don't know. But once we've heard like, oh, this is how I come in, it's just that. It's just you having that type of experience in this very moment. And of course, what we've seen also is that it doesn't stay like that, right? People that come in feeling tired or exhausted or angry or frustrated, or that's not how they're going to stay throughout the whole session, right? So that's where my question was going with, what difference was it making for you, Judith, when you could show up like that first in the sessions?
I think two things. The one thing is to check in with myself. So what is present, to gain clarity on that. And then there's no story around it. I don't need to explain why I am the way I am. And the second thing is that I realized that in myself, there was a kind of defense mechanism just melting. So I think it's the point of, I don't need to change to fit in. And this is related to, I think, these different needs of, I want to belong to a community, but I want to be who I am. So I mean, these things are on different poles, and they are sometimes feel like stretching forces.
Yeah.
But when I can show up in a community like Invoke, it all comes together. I can be in community, and I can feel the way I'm feeling. Yeah.
Isn't it curious how those, I recognize what you're saying. That's so often that's what it feels like. But that feels like it's a false dichotomy, isn't it? It's like belonging, like what brings us belonging isn't about, do I like change myself to fit in, or do I not change myself and be who I am? Like that's actually not what creates belonging. But for some reason, that is one of the overriding narratives out here in the world, isn't there?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. So let's move back to Mirjam and what you were saying about becoming more comfortable being in a group with women.
Yeah.
Do you want to say a little bit about what made that possible for you?
I think it's exactly what you just said about there's no drama, and everybody just showed up, and there was like this sense of calm in the sessions. It was really, and we always call this yin bath, right? Which is really this place where you can just relax, and we can learn together, and there's no competition. I think that really helped a lot as well. And I felt really seen without having to put on any sort of show, or without having to be someone else. And I think that really made a big difference. But also the level of communication we were having amongst each other was really from the heart. So in normal conversations, we tend to talk so much from the mind, and then it becomes like this talking at this level, and it's exhausting, and it's sort of it triggers my brain way too much, because my brain is always very easily excitable, and then before I know it, I lose contact with myself. And here, because we were at a different level of connection, more from the heart, for me, it felt easier to stay in connection.
With yourself.
Yes.
Right.
Eventually, it's about being in connection with myself, because that's the only place from where I can have the connection with the other person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's so many threads in what you're saying. And so let's see if we can pick this apart a little bit more and make it into practical things, right? Because when we say, for example, that so much of that was about, well, first of all, I think what you said about feeling seen without having to be someone else is such I think it's actually one of our first needs in life. Yeah. It's such an essential part. I just remembered there was actually a little video on my feed somewhere today with little bits of video footage from kids who were kind of sitting in some kind of group setting and just kind of looking around them, and I'm suddenly seeing their parent and the way that they would light up and suddenly be able to do things that weren't quite working before. It's like there was several in a row, and it was such a beautiful example of this. I think every one of us wants to be seen just as we are, as good enough, as beautiful and whole unto ourselves, even if we're struggling. And I think that is very, very important. And it comes together with the no judgment piece. When I look at the design decisions, showing up as we are is a requisite for the change process that we do to function really well. We want that in our clients. We want them to be able to show up as they are. That's only going to happen when we show up as we are, right? So it's the same thing on multiple levels. And so seeing each other for who we are and accepting that fully, being okay with that people aren't always their shiniest, beautifulest self, whatever that might be. Like no picture perfect, right? That all of us struggle from time to time when it comes to learning. Some of it can be very challenging from time to time. Some of it can be beautiful and exciting, inspirational. Like all of that is just part of the process. All of that is allowed to be present. So that helps to really see one another and kind of go, yeah, I see you. I see, like, first of all, your beautiful self, right? You don't have to do anything to earn like the appreciation, the respect, the love from this community. And then we see you as you're learning, right? We see that some things are easeful, some things are beautiful and flowing, other things are like, ugh, like scratchy or like friction. That is part of human experience too. We all do that. So there is no drama around that from our perspective. And I think what really helps to bring that kind of culture to a community is to lean into the value of curiosity. Mm-hmm. And then that's baked into the soul-based coaching approach. But it means that, first of all, when something happens, we know that humans go into like making a snap judgment about a situation like that we have stories around that are influenced by our past, our experiences. what we learned in school, all the rest of it, our family systems. But when we learn to pause all of that and kind of go, I might have responses, but let's find out. And first ask some clean language questions that can go, and what kind of is that? Like, what's happening for you right now? And bring our curiosity to it. Then we see that there's lots more that we weren't aware of, and lots more that might not be ours to deal with, but that we can support someone else to deal with. There's just lots more possible than if we're not bringing that approach of curiosity. So those are some of the things that come up when I listen to you, and maybe there's other things too.
Yeah, I think one thing that really helps as well is the 3-minute check-in we always do, right? Where you can just really you check in with just one person and you really just talk about what is alive for you in this moment, and the other one just holds space for you. There's no advice giving. There's no feedback. It's really you can just show up completely, and doing that consistently every week always with someone else, it's really helpful. And also doing that for someone else and seeing where other people are. It's also a way of getting to know them, which we normally don't do, I think. Yeah. But it's all helping you to sort of land into this space and to feel like, okay, and you get everything off your chest, which is alive in a moment, and you can just go into the session clean.
Yes. Oh, I love that. There, so this is pointing to a second piece of the design, which is actually the design is modeled after ancient goddess temple architecture. I don't know if you know this, but if you look at how that would work, it would be that there was like a first portal where you entered and could like leave your sandals. I'm just kind of translating it into here and now. It's like hang up your coat, put your purse down, kind of organize yourself, go to the loo, like do those things. And our one word or check-in of what's on top actually fits into that category. It's kind of that point between what's on the outside and what's here, what we're here to do. It's kind of like, okay, that settles us in that space. Then you move into like the next space in the temple. And that is the space where ritual is being done. And the way to bring ourselves there fully, heart, mind, and soul, like heart, mind, body, and soul, I should say, probably, is by really allowing ourselves to sink into the deeper layers. And holding space is such a beautiful practice that like it does lots of different things, but this is also what it can do for us. By allowing us to just be with ourselves and presence what's going on, we start to kind of it's like unpack like the layers that are on top and kind of like, oh yeah, okay. Just by voicing that stuff, we're feeling ourselves sinking more and more deeply into ourselves, into our bodies. And then it does some stuff on how we know each other and what we see of each other. It does stuff in understanding how life moves through us, how someone can start with a like, I feel very heavy or constricted, and then as they're speaking, like even in 3 minutes we see spaciousness arise or bubbles arise, or there's always movement in those 3 minutes. And so that helps us even at a subconscious level untangle from the fact that this idea that we are our stories or that we are our state. Everything is always in motion. And so when we do that as the start of the second chamber, then we become ready for doing more of the stuff that we're here for, more of the ritual that we're here for. And there's more in that design, but like these are the first 2 steps. Yeah. Beautiful. You wanted to say something as well, Judith?
Yeah, I wanted to pick up on the curiosity, because I think this is a key learning for me as well. The shift from, especially on a learning journey that we are on when we are in Invoke, it's not about analyzing the problems and digging deep into the problems and what isn't working well. Of course, we have an eye on that too, because this gives us valuable information, but it's more the way we are looking at it. And for me, it's like really diving deep into a state of curiosity. And when something isn't working well for me, like what's happening in myself is more like a little voice in my head that is very happily yelling, oh, how interesting. And this how interesting this is what I've learned in Invoke, and it helps me in each situation in life. Whenever there is an obstacle or a so-called problem or whatever shows up, it's more the curiosity, oh, how interesting, what is it telling me? And it's more like finding out, exploring, doing some research around this, but more in a joyful way than in this analyzing the problem.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. I think many more of us could use that voice, kind of going, how interesting, like what's going on here? What's happening inside of me? What's happening out there? What would I like to have happen with this, right? And I think, and this is also, I love it because this is also what we do with our clients, of course, right? It's like, this is how we approach what's going on for our clients. Always modeling, always interested and intrigued about how is this gorgeous being doing what they do best, which is having this experience in their lives, whether they want it or not, right? But how is it? Yeah. How is it happening? It's so interesting, and that how is not it's not an analytical picking apart, as you say, but it is bringing attention to where the most juicy parts are in this. And we do that through metaphor for our clients. In case you're listening and you don't know about that, tune in for more conversations if you want to know more about the magic of that. But just staying with the topic today, that curiosity is like it's life-giving. Yeah. Cool. I'm just still kind of resonating about the drama piece, and especially the women in groups of women and no drama, because it is possible when we're curious about each other, when we meet each other from this place of open-heartedness. And I think this is something that you talked about as well, Mirjam, about how a lot of the conversations are at the level of the heart. Do you want to say a little bit more about what that means for you?
Yeah, I think it has everything to do with what we just discussed, is curiosity, because there's an openness. I think the mind, if you talk from mind, is always closed. We always try to fix everything. We want to be in control. And that's where the conversation goes into advice or making things worse, or there's a lot of processes happening at a mind level, but at a heart level, it's just, this is what there is. And just being with it, and maybe some curiosity around it, from, hey, why is that, or what's going on for you, or how does it feel? And that is such a different conversation. It really allows you to drop more in your experience. If I get someone who's trying to analyze me from a mind point of view, or tries to give me advice, then I shut down or go in defense, or I just want to go away. But if I am met with genuine curiosity and an open heart, then I can drop into my own experience, and it's safe to be who I am. And there's absolutely no drama in that.
Yeah. Yes, beautiful. That it's safe to be who I am is such a core tenet here, because when it's safe to be who you are, it means that you can be as you are right now, and it also includes your longings, right? And what you'd like to change, or what you'd like to see differently. Like all of that is safe. Even like the way that you make changes in life, that is safe, right? Because you have, and this is, I guess this is the other part that comes from our from the way that we work in soul-based coaching, is that there is no right or wrong. There is no right or wrong. There are a million ways in which people can be in their power, live their best lives, be a beacon of light in the world if that's what they want to be. And as coaches, there is no particular way that we favor, right? There is no model that we're after and go, well, if only everyone would do this, or like, if you do this, that will fix you, that will set everything straight. So what we're interested in is bringing fuel to how this client system makes these changes happen. And so being safe in who you are is also celebrating the power, like the incredible power that lies in your unique you-ness, right? And it's like, there's nothing that you have to apologize for, right? Just bring that curiosity and kind of go, oh, that's interesting. Right? Oh, I'd like to do a little bit more of this, or I'd like to kind of swap that around, or I'd like to really call on this part of me. Whatever it is that comes to the forefront as coaches. Cool. I think there is one more thing that I want to say to kind of start wrapping this up and bringing this together. But before I do that, I just want to check in whether there's anything else that you would like to add when it comes to creating communities where people can really thrive.
What I want to point out is not an answer to how to, but why. Why do we need communities like that? And you know, I'm working as a facilitator in the corporate world as well, and there is a lot of good stuff happening, but the Soul-Based Coaching Academy community has a different flavor for me. And it's like coming home, really settling in, being accepted in the full me. And for me, it is such an important home base. I would like to call it like that. Because times are getting rougher and rougher, as we see on the outside. And I really think we need, especially when we are working with people, when we're helping people on their very personal way, it is important that we nourish ourselves, and we really need to find community where we can do this. And it's also a way how to nourish myself so that I can give. It's like filling my, I don't know, my heart with good energy so that I'm able to do the work that I'm here to do.
Yeah, beautiful. And it's so powerful. And I think that why do we need communities where people can thrive? I think having that sense of home somewhere, providing a place where people can find it, I think is so essential. It is a basic human need to belong, right? We get ill when we don't belong. And so bringing more and more spaces forward where people can find their own home. And it doesn't all have to be like this, right? But making spaces where people feel home, where they can feel nourished, seen, where they learn to be with one another without drama, I think is going to be very essential in the upcoming years as well. And I think that comes back to the bit that I wanted to just add, is that when you're listening to this and you feel like you want to be in a community where you can thrive, then take that longing seriously. It is important that you have that. If this community speaks to you, of course, come and join us, right? We'd love to have you. But the most important part is that we have these spaces. And when you're thinking of creating a community like that for yourself and the people that you want to support, then really start with integrity. And with that, I mean, start feeling into what are the values that make home for you. This is what I did. What are the values? What are the things that really make the difference between being home and between having to keep the masks on? and then start to think about what does that mean for the format, for the form, for the agreements that we have in our space. And be willing to check in on them, right? This is like a community that is for all of us, and we create it together. It's not me who creates this community. We do it all together based on a few of the guidelines and these practices that I've put into place. And that is a very powerful thing to do, that we all can do, right? If you have any questions, reach out to us. We're happy to have a chat. Thank you, Judith. Thank you, Mirjam. I'll see both of you very soon as assistants in our coach training. I look forward to seeing all of you later. Bye.
Thank you both.
Bye-bye.